are present. Mr. Durst is here with Mr. DeGuerin and Mr. Chesnoff. We have Mr. Lewin and his colleagues for the people. Mr. Giordano has resumed the witness stand. I'll remind you that you are under oath. You may continue your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, when Mr. Durst made the comment to you that is in the first paragraph that's up on the board there, what did you take that to mean? What did you take that to mean that he was saying to you?
Don't speak to anyone, but that was it.
Did you take that to mean that Mr. Durst was telling you, don't tell them shit, correct?
Yes.
And did you take that, ma'am, as coming from not Mr. Durst's lawyer, but from Mr. Durst himself?
Yes.
So he was telling you, you would agree, he is basically reinforcing with you that his lawyer has told you, remember, don't tell them shit. Correct?
Correct.
And ma'am, when you responded, I know, can you explain what that meant?
I said I know not to speak to anyone. I was supposed to get a lawyer before I spoke to anyone, but...
Ma'am, he said, not don't speak to anybody, he said, don't tell them shit. Isn't it true that you took that to mean, do not say anything that is in any way inculpatory, bad for Bob Durst, correct?
Correct.
And ma'am, when he then said, I imagine your kids are good at it too, did you take that to mean, as he was saying to you, hey, I imagine your kids understand that they are not supposed to tell anybody shit either? Is that how you took that?
I don't remember that, but I guess I would take it that way.
Your Honor, I don't remember. Did we actually play this, or are we just reading off this?
Yes.
No, we played it.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, I just didn't remember.
And ma'am, when you responded, we don't answer phones unless it's you, you're basically responding to him, correct? In essence, don't worry, Bob, no one's going to say shit because we don't even answer the phone. Correct?
Correct.
And ma'am, you then responded, did you get my mail today? Do you know what you were sending him or no?
I used to send them a lot of pictures, so photos.
Ma'am, have you ever functioned as a go-between? Do you know what that word means?
Yes.
You ever function as a go-between between Robert Durst and potential witnesses at the trial?
No.
Has Bob Durst ever asked you to contact any witnesses in this case?
No.
So he never asked you to contact Doug Oliver or Stuart Altman?
No.
Did Bob Durst ever talk to you about being called as a character witness?
No.
Have you ever had any discussions with his attorneys about you testifying for Bob Durst?
No.
Ma'am, when is the last time that you are aware that you hit up Bob Durst for money?
I just told him everything that was breaking and things needed to be repaired, but I never came out and asked him for money. I got it back in 2015, so since then I haven't had anything.
So not since 2015. Okay, code SG-112, October 25th, 2019 jail call.
I'm sorry, say that again.
That's going to be SG-112, October 25th, 2019 jail call.
And Your Honor, may we mark that as 229A and 229?
Yeah.
Debbie paid the stuff that you sent her, right? Yes, I do. I did write you a note. She paid the mortgage, Beverly Oil.
And she paid the lawyer.
Thank you. Did you get my note? I thank you. I thank you so much.
It's Debbie doing it. Debbie knows I want her to do it.
Ma'am, haven't you testified under oath that as far as you know, you weren't sure who paid your bills and that you had no idea that Bob Durst was behind the payment of those bills? Haven't you testified to that, ma'am?
Yes,
Well, ma'am, when you listen to this tape,
yes, I forgot that Debbie was gonna take care of it, but I thought you meant I asked him. It was offered to me and Debbie was gonna take care of it. And then at that point, nothing, at that point, I couldn't speak to anyone.
so
So I
ma'am,
did forget that a couple of years ago.
so it's clear you agree that on this call, Bob is trying to make sure in late 2019 that his wife Debbie has paid your bills, including mortgage, electrical bills, and lawyer's bills, correct?
Yes.
How much do you think those bills were?
Under 10,000, yes.
Well, ma'am, when I asked you repeatedly
Yes.
how much he's given you and when he's given it to you, how come you forgot to mention this money?
I did forget, it was a couple of years ago. It was offered, it wasn't a check that came to me and Debbie wanted to take care of it. So I
Ma'am,
didn't
you've been
remember.
given bills to your lawyer to give to Bob Durst up until very recently, correct?
Last year, yes. Yeah.
And ma'am, did you think it was the Tooth Fairy that was paying those bills when you gave them to your lawyer?
352, Your Honor.
No, it's our argument. It's the same.
Who did you think was paying those bills when you were giving them to your lawyer?
Could be Debbie, I didn't ask. I didn't ask.
You knew your lawyer wasn't paying them out of his funds, right?
I didn't ask him. I didn't, sorry. I didn't say anything to him.
So ma'am, it's your testimony to this jury that you were giving bills to your lawyer, and for all you knew, your lawyer, who Bob Durst was paying for, was just gonna pay those bills out of his own funds. Is that your testimony?
Like I said, I didn't ask, and if Debbie did it, then she did it for me. And I
So
didn't
ma'am,
ask him.
I wanna ask you again, when is the last time you asked Bob Durst for money?
I didn't ask him, he offered it.
Okay, I mean,
There's a difference, I didn't ask him, like, wow, you have to send me money. I mean, I just told him what was behind, and I knew that there was not much he could do. So,
well, you hit him up for the $30,000 for Tommy in the car, correct?
I don't even know when that was. And it wasn't just for the car, like I said. It was for other things, right?
Ma'am, when is the last time that there was any discussion between you and Bob Durst about your financial issues?
Oh, there's always discussion. There's always discussion of my financial issues.
Right. In fact, ma'am, you had a discussion on a jail call on January 21st, 2020, while we were starting jury selection in this trial, correct?
I don't know when there was jury selection.
SG 114, please, January 21st, 2020 jail call.
And Your Honor, may we mark it as 230 and 230A?
Yes.
Yes.
I see her on Saturday. Now, let me just go through what I've never wanted before, which I don't understand, and which Debbie never asked me about, which I need to understand. I'm gonna ask her for money on Saturday. You and your four little guys, are any of you employed?
Ma'am,
Yes.
do you recall that?
I don't really.
You agree that's Bob Durst talking about money, saying that you're going to get attacked for taking it, correct? and then asking you whether or not your 4 little guys, he's referring to your sons, correct?
Yes,
Who are all grown, correct?
yes.
And he's asking you, hey, are any of these guys employed? Because he's, correct, wondering why does he keep having to send you money to support them? Let me ask you, on that same call, ma'am, was that 113? That was 113 you played,
That
right?
was 114. Go on 113?
Yeah, let me go 113, please.
And Your Honor, may we mark that as 231 and 231A?
Yeah.
I have so many things I always want to tell you, and then when I speak to you, I'm just so happy you called us again.
I want to speak to you about I started making a mistake.
I know. Yes, I know.
And no one will attack you about it.
I know. That's okay though, I'm pretty tough.
Ma'am, were you having then discussions with Bob Durst by mail about some of these issues that you were not talking about on the phone?
No,
Ma'am, haven't there been times where you have said, where you've asked Bob if he got your letters when you're talking about issues that you don't want to speak to on the phone? Has that come up during any of your jail conversations?
I don't think so.
I got it. Other side.
When, I want to go back to this same January 21st, 2020 call. After Bob asked you whether any of your little guys are employed, did he then ask you how can he explain to his wife why you never have any money?
No,
SG 115.
And Your Honor, may we mark it as 232 and 232A?
Yeah,
Your Honor,
yes.
Mr. Williams keeps going back and forth.
Yeah, so you can traverse to talk to your colleagues about putting up that, when you need to coordinate about putting up a clip, but otherwise try to anchor yourself.
Your Honor, is there,
No, I prefer that you use the lectern.
okay.
Well, because Ralph used to bring home $10,000 a month. That was his take home. He made a very good salary. And ever since we had problems a couple of years ago, it got a lot worse, and we just kind of had to go our own way. And then, honestly, Bob, if I would have gotten my operation, it'd probably been working a lot more. It's been very hard for me. And when you said to me the last conversation, be healthy, I really thought you read my mind. Like, I worried. Like, I don't know if I should get this operation on my back. I did tell you last year, but that held me back a little bit.
And ma'am, during that same conversation, did Bob Durst ask you, can you just give one big bill that he could give to Debbie instead of 18 little ones?
well, that sounds like something he would say.
And do you recall specifically what he said?
Not
Do
specifically.
you recall what you said, ma'am?
No,
SG 116, January 21st, 2020 jail call.
Your Honor, can we mark that as 233 and
Yeah.
233A?
Yeah.
Can hear it.
You have my mortgage information. I gave you my social security number. I have big bills, Bob, I do. I have 2 credit cards, but believe it or not, it's still some of Louisiana to come. kind of a lot of money. Kind of a lot of problems. But it's just been nice to keep on. I didn't tell you a lot of things that happened without this. So he's been through a lot of therapy. He's really good now. He's feeling really good the last couple of months. But
two bills you'd like her to pay, and email them to her, and I'll speak to her on Saturday. But for whatever it's worth, my trial starts 3 weeks from today.
okay, the reason I wanted this for you.
And whenever I finish, you should tell the father you either will be out and able to spend money on what I want to, or I will be in, or all I can spend is $300 a week, and there should be lots of money available for you. Right now, you put the lawyers and everything, the trustees have to put out lots of money. But I still got lots of money. If I ever figure out what my idiot accountant is talking about.
I don't.
There'll be very little money going out, and there'll still be money coming in. So it should not be a problem paying what you're talking about.
Let's pause for a moment. Now, you.
We have those.
It's not on the screen. Now you have this. You have the material. Though.
True. Well, we have transcripts, Your Honor, but
You're not seeing what's being projected.
Right.
So is there? And you should be able to. So what can we do? We can.
Your Honor, if we take maybe a 5-10 minute break, I could try and fix the screen. It's just an issue with the HDMI cables. I don't know why it's happening.
All right. Let's take a 10-minute break to make sure this is all fixed. Also, the witness should be able to see it right in front of her. We'll work on that too. So, ladies and gentlemen, do not converse among yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with the case. Do not form or express any opinion on the case. 10-minute break. We'll be back at 2:05. Should be ready. Mr. Durst is present with his lawyers. You may be seated, Mr. Durst, and people present. The jurors and alternates return. Ms. Giordano has resumed the witness stand. Ladies and gentlemen, while you were gone, we had a short hackathon, and the winners have restored our audio-visual. So with that, you may continue.
Thank you. We're going to repeat SG-116.
And that was 233 and 233A for the transcript.
thank you.
Much happier for paying one bill rather than paying 18. She has one big bill she can pay. Something like that.
She has my mortgage information. I gave her my social security number. That's it. I have good bills, Bob. I do. I have 2 credit cards, but believe it or not, it's still some of Louisiana at the time. Kind of a lot of money. Kind of a lot of problems. But it's just been nice to keep, Bob. I didn't tell you a lot of things that happened without this. So he's been through a lot of therapy. He's really good now. He's feeling really good the last couple of months. But
Two bills you'd like her to pay, and email them to her, and I'll speak to her on Saturday. But for whatever it's worth, my trial starts 3 weeks from today.
okay, the reason I wanted to see you.
And whenever I am finished, you should tell the father you either
Okay.
will be out and able to spend money on what I want to, or I will be in, or all I can spend is $300 a week, and there should be lots of money available for you. Right now, because of the lawyers and everything, trustees have to put out lots of money. But I still got lots of money. If I ever figure out what my idiot accountant is talking about.
I don't,
There'll be very little money going out, and there'll still be money coming in. So it should not be a problem paying what you're talking about.
Oh, sorry, didn't hear. Ma'am,
Yeah.
you agree that during that exchange, that was basically Bob Durst telling you that when the case is over, he's got plenty of money for you, correct?
Correct.
So you were aware, and this call takes place, ma'am, January 21st, 2020. Your Honor, will the court take judicial notice that the trial had already begun by January 21st, 2020? You were in jury selection?
We were in jury selection at that time. I don't know if that's necessary for your point, but
I'm asking the court to take judicial notice of that, Your Honor.
it has, I think you need a relevance showing also on that particular point.
Well,
I mean, yes, that's when the trial started.
thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am,
Yes.
so the trial has now started. You know you're going to be a witness, and Bob Durst is telling you that he's going to have plenty of money for you when it's over. Do you think that that impacts your statement that you are impartial and have no bias?
It didn't impact.
Ma'am, were you aware that as late as January 28th, again, 2020, that Bob Durst was making arrangements to leave you $5 million as a contingent beneficiary? Were you aware of that?
Absolutely not.
SG 117-128-20 call.
And Your Honor, may we mark this as 234 and 234A?
Yeah.
Third item is my will.
okay.
What is the name of Steve's former partner who did my will?
Ted Dexter,
Is he still with that firm?
yes,
I want to change the will.
okay.
Now I think it leaves everything to you. And if you predecease me, it goes to Emily and Stuart and Howard and like that. So what I want us to do is I want to leave everything to you. And if you predecease me, I want to go to bed. It's $5 million out to Giordano and $1 million out to King Florida.
Ma'am, is it your testimony that the first time that you ever heard Mr. Durst's intentions to leave you $5 million as a contingent beneficiary was playing this call today? You never heard that before? You never were aware of that information?
No.
You and Mr. Durst never had any discussion?
No.
All right, ma'am, I want to...
Your Honor,
Yes. Objection?
I'm trying to formulate it, Your Honor, but can we?
Sidebar.
Yeah,
Let's go.
please, because I thought it was going to be her voice.
Back in the record, the objection sustained, the answer is stricken. There is to disregard that evidence you heard, that quotation from two other people talking. All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, on March 2nd, 2020, did you have a conversation with Mr. Durst where the two of you were making arrangements to go on a cruise after his alleged acquittal?
When was this?
March 2nd, 2020, this would have been right when opening statements were about to take place. Maybe they had started.
Well, no, we were talking about that like 15 years ago, something him and Kathy had done and things he'd like to do, but
So are you denying, ma'am, that you were making arrangements with Mr. Durst, who you were discussing going on a cruise after he was acquitted?
yeah, it wasn't this time. No, it wasn't. It was a long time ago, but no, things that we would have done, yes.
Ma'am,
So, yeah, no.
ma'am, listen to my question.
Okay, I don't remember.
On March 2nd, 2020, at that point in time, do you recall if you were having
No.
conversations with, ma'am, you've got to let me finish. On March 2nd, 2020, do you recall you were having conversations with Mr. Durst about the two of you going on a cruise after this trial was over and he was acquitted? Do you recall having any such conversations with Mr. Durst?
Oh, yes.
Ma'am, on April 9th, strike that, on June 9th, 2020, did you have a conversation with Mr. Durst about Nick Chabin?
Possibly.
This was June 9th, 2020, you would agree, is during the pandemic, after this case had gone on hiatus. Do you agree?
Yes.
Did you have a conversation with Mr. Durst where he told you that Nick Chabin had moved to the Bronx? Do you recall that?
Yes.
Do you recall, ma'am, making an offer during that conversation with Mr. Durst to have your son, an NYPD officer, find out anything Bob needed about Nick Chabin from the precinct?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So you never said that, ma'am, in a jail call?
No, he offered his place in the Bronx. He offered to stay at his apartment for my son. That was the only thing.
Ma'am, I want to ask this question very carefully.
Yeah.
On September 19, 2020, did you, in a conversation with Mr. Durst, did you say to...
June 9th.
Yeah, I'm sorry, June 9, 2020, thank you. Did you say to Mr. Durst that your son was an NYPD officer and that he could find out anything that Bob needed about Nick Chabin from the precinct? Is your statement that didn't happen, or is your statement I don't remember?
I don't remember anything like that.
On September 19th, 2020, did you have a call with Bob Durst where he told you, quote, John Lewin is listening to everything?
Oh, that sounds like he would say that.
And ma'am, is it true that you took this as a warning to be careful what you said in the calls, correct?
Yes.
And ma'am, isn't it true that in fact, when you want to communicate with Bob Durst about something sensitive, you either put it in writing or you go through his lawyers, correct?
No, I haven't tried to contact the lawyers, and he doesn't call, so we can't speak on the phone because he doesn't call anymore.
Have you ever given any written correspondence to Mr. Durst's attorneys, either directly or through your attorney, to give to Bob Durst?
No.
On November 9th, 2020, did you tell Bob Durst on a call that you hoped he'd been getting a lot of mail from you?
Well, it sounds like something I would say.
What were you sending him?
I sent a lot of photographs and things that were, yeah, mostly photographs. He asked me to send photos.
Did you also let him know that your son was coming out to UCLA and would be writing to him?
Yes,
Why would your son be writing to Bob Durst?
because he knows him and they speak.
Was that part of a plan for your son to hit Bob up for money?
No.
During the pandemic recess in the trial, ma'am, did you have any contact with any of Bob Durst, current attorneys or former attorneys?
No.
On December 12, 2020, did you have a call with Bob Durst where he asked you if his wife was still helping you financially?
Yes.
Did you respond that she had not helped you in 4 months?
Yes.
Did you tell him that you had sent Debbie, his wife, your mortgage bills for 4 months prior?
Yes.
So when you said before, ma'am, that you didn't know where your bills were going or who was paying them, you're admitting that you were giving the bills either to your lawyer or directly to Debbie to be paid, correct?
Yes, back then, yes.
Ma'am, do you understand you're under oath today?
Yes, but that was back then, and then she didn't pay them. So he told me to just give it to my lawyer. So as I remember it, I had to give it to my lawyer because she didn't respond to me anymore.
So ma'am,
Since the year before, she didn't speak to me.
So ma'am, this is December 12th, 2020, and you're from that Bob has not helped you for 4 months, meaning you haven't gotten any money from Debbie through Bob in 4 months, correct?
Right, it was the beginning, I think, of 2020, when the last time I spoke to Debbie. I'm
Well, ma'am,
pretty sure.
so listen to my question. You said in this call, December 12th, 2020, that Debbie had not helped you in 4 months. Would you agree 4 months would mean that she helped you in August?
No, I didn't send anything. So I didn't,
Ma'am, you already have testified that you agreed that you said on that call that you had sent Debbie your mortgage bills 4 months prior, correct?
correct.
Did you ask Bob if he was all right with you sending the bills as you felt uncomfortable speaking with her? Is that what happened in the conversation?
That would sound like right.
And do you recall Bob telling you that it was, quote, very much okay with him?
Sounds right.
Do you recall during that same call telling Bob that you needed a lawyer in the next month because you had many things you wanted to share with Bob, correct?
No, I did say I had many things to share, but I already had a lawyer, so I don't.
So, ma'am, so are you denying that you said to Bob Durst during that call that you needed your lawyer in the next month because you had many things you wanted to share with him? You said that, correct?
I might have. I had a lawyer though, so I don't understand. But
So-
I must have said I wanted to tell Ben because I had things to share with him. Yeah.
So, ma'am, so that's my question. So that statement certainly implies that what you are doing is you are using your lawyer to communicate with Bob Durst, correct?
No, I knew my lawyer would speak to his lawyers.
So, ma'am, you just said that, yes, that sounds correct, that you would have told Bob Durst that you had many things you wanted to share with him and that you needed to do that through a lawyer, correct?
Correct.
So, ma'am,
I don't.
if you are sharing things with Bob Durst through a lawyer, what are those things that you are saying you want to share?
You want me to tell you?
Your Honor, that would invade, he's asking what she told her lawyer.
I'm gonna withdraw the question. It's a legitimate question, but I'm gonna withdraw it. It's not worth spending the time.
Okay.
Ma'am, did you have a call with Bob Durst on December 23rd, 2020, where you told him, I am missing you, only 100 days to go?
Sounds like me. Yes.
And ma'am, during this call, did Bob Durst ask you again if Debbie was still helping you?
I don't remember.
Does that sound like the conversations you were having at the time?
He would ask me. Yes.
During that call, did you and Bob Durst repeatedly tell each other how much you missed each other?
Sounds right.
Did you tell him that you were very confident that he would win the case and that he would be back home soon with you?
Yes.
Ma'am, at the time you're having this conversation on December 23rd, were you aware that on that same date that Mr. Durst stipulated that he wrote the cadaver note? Were you aware of that at the time?
No.
So did Mr. Durst tell you in advance that he was changing his 20 years of statements that he had never been in Los Angeles and was now admitting, yep, I was there, I found the body, I wrote the cadaver note? Were you aware, did you know that during the conversation?
Objection, Your Honor.
Yes.
Asked and answered. Just-
Asked and answered.
Yes, he asked the
Okay,
question.
right, now I understand. Sustained.
Ma'am, is it still your position that the I am missing you, only 100 days to go, that these are still the sentiments of two platonic friends?
Yes,
Did you have a conversation with Mr. Durst on March 17, 2021? Do you recall? Does that sound about right?
that would probably be my last conversation, but yes.
Maybe not.
No?
Uh,
Okay, I don't, it's been a really long time.
yeah. So, ma'am, so on that March 17th conversation, did you refer to Bob Durst as sweetheart?
Yes.
Is that a term that you use for your platonic friends?
Yes.
Did you happen to bring up the idea that your son, strike that, did Bob mention to you during that call that your son Tommy had sent him info about the colleges he had applied to?
Yes.
Why would your son be sending Bob Durst info on the colleges he's applying to? Do you know?
He speaks to him, and I tell him Bob would like to hear from him, so he tells him what's going on in his life.
Was that an attempt by you and your son to get money from Bob?
He
No.
was on scholarship, no.
This is the son who was at LSU, is that right?
Yes, he had an assistantship.
And when you said he was on scholarship, was he on scholarship at LSU?
Yes, it was an assistantship. He wanted to set him up with a whole, like, an apartment and things like that, and whatever extras he would need.
Didn't you previously testify, ma'am, that a big chunk of the money, of the $300,000 that Bob gave you, went to support your son in Louisiana to help pay for school? Didn't you
Yeah.
testify to that?
No, the money went to, well, he graduated first from Purchase, and he went to school at Juilliard. So he had excessive loans, and then the money for the apartment in Louisiana, he's got an apartment and furniture, and the commuting back and forth when I went to see Bob.
Let me just ask you, ma'am, in total, how much of the original $300,000 and roughly $50,000 that Bob Durst gave you, how much was given to your sons?
I don't know, I would have to say about 100 and, well, it has to be in the ballpark of 100,000.
And the rest you spent, correct?
Yes,
And you ran out of money from that original $350 because you were hitting them up for more money less than a year later, correct?
okay, yes.
Ma'am, did you have a conversation with Bob Durst on April 10th, 2021?
Possibly.
In that conversation, ma'am, did you tell Bob Durst that you had given all of your bills to your lawyer to send on to Bob's wife to pay?
Wasn't to Bob's wife, but I know she wasn't going to take care of it.
So ma'am, you're
I
saying
thought she would, but she wasn't going to.
Ma'am, listen to my question. Did you say to Bob Durst
I might have said that to Bob.
during the call, listen to my question, please don't interrupt me. Did you say to Bob Durst during the call, ma'am, that you had given all of your bills to your lawyer to send to Bob's wife to pay?
Yes,
So ma'am, I thought you had said that you did not know who was paying your bills.
okay. I did not because Debbie did not want to hear from me anymore.
Well,
So I didn't know if it was her accountants or whoever was doing it, but she did not want any part of me.
so ma'am, do you recall when I asked you, before I hit you with all these calls, when the last time you had spoken with him and you did not name anything close to April 10th, 2021?
Well, I just said it's been a while. He hasn't called in quite a few months, so.
When's the last time you spoke to him?
It's been a while. I don't know exactly.
Ma'am, isn't it true that in essence, you and your family have used Bob Durst like an ATM?
No.
Ma'am?
20 years, I mean, it's not like I didn't know him all this time.
Right, in fact, ma'am, he's given you, when you add it up, it's in excess of $500,000, correct?
I don't think it's that much, but that's fine.
What do you think it is?
Probably 200, maybe, because that other 30 didn't happen, so it's been 2015. Maybe 400, I said 500 is none, but.
Ma'am, have you ever expressed the sentiments that even if Bob Durst gave you $1 million, that in essence, you deserve it? You ever said that?
Kidding around that I used to do so much research stuff for him that he wanted to employ me, and I said, can I get paid like everyone else?
So you said it kidding around to Bob Durst?
Kidding around, yes.
To Bob Durst?
Yes. I probably said I was probably worth a lot more.
Right.
but-
Were you kidding around when you spoke to Special Agent Perry from the FBI on March 18, 2015?
About what?
Were you kidding around?
Oh yeah, I didn't say, I was like, I probably said I would, just like I said now, I'm probably worth a lot more than that, but.
SG 038.
Your Honor, can we mark this as 235 and 235A?
So what is the purpose for this?
Yeah.
This is inconsistent, or?
Yeah, I'm going to impeach her because she has
Okay.
just said, I'm going to impeach her with the statement to
Okay.
Special Agent Perry, which she has mischaracterized.
Okay, just a moment. Let me look. Kidding around. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know.
This is my second to the last clip, if it helps, Your Honor. I'm almost
Okay,
done.
well, that is, endurance isn't one of the rules of evidence either.
Right.
Your
Yes.
Honor, she answered the question.
Okay, sidebar. Can I do any more arguments in front of the jury? All right, you may proceed, Mr. Lewin.
SG 038.
And Your Honor, can we mark this as 235, 235A?
Yeah.
March 18, 2015, page 78, lines 2 through 5. This is your interview with Special Agent Eric Perry of the FBI, ma'am.
And honestly, if I had been ruined on the job, everything that I did done for him, I feel very well deserved it. I mean, it was like, ooh, you do this, you do this, and, but what is happening?
That's exactly what I just said. Like,
No.
yeah, I think I'm worth it.
Well,
I
ma'am,
do.
what you said was, originally when I asked you, you said you were joking around and you made the comment.
Well, it was just a figure of speech. If he said 500,000, I'd say yes, I was worth it for whatever. Yeah, I didn't
so-
mean like he owes me $1 million.
Well, I guess he would owe you $500,000 because he's already
you
given
know
you
what?
$500,000. Or was that separate?
I
Sustain. It's
Ma'am,
argument.
so is it your position, ma'am, jokes aside, that in essence, hey, you've earned the money Bob Durst has given you? Is that your position?
No.
Ma'am, you agree that your testimony in this case, if Bob Durst doesn't like it, you would agree that could certainly impact your ability to get money from him in the future, correct?
No.
So you think that whatever you say, the ATM's just going to keep coming?
Objection, Your
I
Honor.
didn't-
The characterization as ATM is
I'll rephrase, Your Honor.
inappropriate.
Ma'am, do you think that no matter what your testimony is in this case, that Bob Durst is going to continue to give you money?
Yeah.
Ma'am, is it fair to say that Bob Durst is somebody who has very strong opinions?
Yes.
And is he somebody who is easy to sway or difficult to sway when he makes up his mind?
It's difficult to sway.
And would you agree that when Bob Durst decides something, that he will make it clear that's what he's decided, and then it is not worth at that time having future arguments about it?
Argumentative and irrelevant. Overruled. You may proceed.
Yes.
Ma'am, are you aware of any instance where Bob Durst has ever lied to you?
No. No. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Ma'am?
I think, not lied, maybe didn't go through with plans, but I don't think he lied to me.
Ma'am, didn't he tell you for 20 years that he was never in Los Angeles at the time of Susan Berman's murder? You've testified to that already.
He
Asked and
never
answered.
spoke. But I'll answer anyway. It's the same. I never asked him. I never asked him.
Ma'am, listen to my question. I didn't say whether you asked him. You previously testified today
Yes.
that for 20 years, Bob Durst has said to you that he was not in Los Angeles at the time that Susan Berman was murdered, correct? You testified to that.
You didn't tell me personally. You said to me earlier, if you look, that's what the news said, or he has never once personally said to me anything to do with Susan Berman case, just like I told Andrew Jarecki, the same thing on video, never told me anything.
So, ma'am, when you said earlier today in response to questioning that Bob Durst has told you for the last 20 years that he was not in Los Angeles, you're telling me that, no, you simply meant that you had heard that that was his position.
Misstates the testimony, Your Honor.
Overruled, the witness may answer and explain her answer.
Okay. He's never had a conversation with me, whether he be there or not be there. He would say, everyone assumes I wasn't there, or I was there, or because we didn't have a conversation one-on-one, ever. I never asked, he never gave me it. It's just what everyone has heard, or through the media. That was it.
Ma'am, in your experience, is Bob Durst an honest person?
Yes?
Ma'am?
I mean, you're asking me, it's between my relationship with him? Yes, he's been honest with me. I'm
That's not
sure
what
if
I
I
asked.
asked him.
Objection, Your Honor. Now he's arguing with the witness. He's
Okay,
laughing
so-
at the witness.
No, I'm sorry. Overruled. I didn't see the
I
laughing.
haven't laughed.
Don't mock a witness if you are.
May I ask my question, Your Honor? It's my last question. Ma'am,
Yes.
I didn't ask you whether he was honest with you. Listen to my question. I'm going to ask you, based on everything you know about Bob Durst, your relationship, the statements you heard him make, the testimony you are aware of, everything you personally know about Bob Durst, in total, do you believe him to be an honest person?
Yes, he changes his mind, but he's an honest person. How's that? I mean, I'm sorry. I mean,
I'm
I
done.
only base it, okay.
I'm ready.
All right. We're gonna go ahead now with the
Oh my goodness.
Mr. Chesnoff's cross-examination.
Please, the court, may I proceed?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello?
I'm going to start out with a question that I didn't anticipate, but I'm going to ask you. The first question. Did you ever knowingly do anything illegal for Bob in exchange for his financial help?
Absolutely not.
Now, there was some questions about your son writing to Bob in jail, correct?
Correct?
When people are in jail, they're pretty isolated, aren't they?
Yes.
And so it's nice for people who know people in jail to write to them, correct?
Correct.
Or to speak to them on the phone, correct?
Yes. Correct.
Even knowing that the calls are monitored. You still want to talk to the people because you care about them, correct?
Yes.
Approach with an issue that I cannot do outside of the jury's presence.
Yes.
It's a quick one.
Come on up.
How about if I stop here and you raise it later? So-
No, I can't do it.
Oh, okay.
So it's time for a mid-afternoon recess. We're going to keep it shorter. Well, actually, we've got to talk for a couple minutes too. All right, so 3:25 is when we're going to return. It will be 15 minutes. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to not discuss the case. Do not converse among yourselves or anyone else on any subject connected with the case. Don't form or express any opinion on the case. See you in 15 minutes. Talk to jurors, okay?
I've already advised her per the court's instructions.
No, I didn't realize it. Must have been, she must have been here, but I did something.
Don't worry about it, just don't do it. Okay. All right, our jurors have left the courtroom, and out of the presence of the jurors, Mr. Lewin has objected to leading questions on the cross-examination of this witness because this witness is sympathetic to the defense. 773B of the California Evidence Code states that the cross-examination of a witness by a party whose interest is not adverse to the party calling him is subject to the same rules that are applicable to the direct examination. And that's based on Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway versus Southern Pacific Company, 13 Cal App 2nd 505, 1936, a time-honored case which jokingly Mr. DeGuerin said that it was his professor, Professor Wigmore, who elucidated on this topic, but it is indeed Wigmore who clarifies this rule. So I know, Mr. Chesnoff and Chambers, you're telling me that you feel that deprives your right to cross-examine witnesses, but that's clearly not so.
But that's a civil case, Your Honor.
Let me give you, I want to incorporate, Your
It's
Honor.
not a criminal.
We
Whoa,
filed
hold on.
Let me just to add to, we filed a motion on November 6, 2017. This related to Detective Struck. The court granted this motion as well. The cases that our motion cited, because I know Mr. Chesnoff is concerned that these aren't criminal cases. People versus Williams, 2008, Cal Supreme Court, 43 Cal 4th, 584 at 631. People versus Spain, SPAIN, 1984, 154,
Counsel.
sorry.
Slow down.
154, Cal App 3rd, 845 at 853, citing People versus Goldenson, GOLDENSON. That's an 1888 case, even that's before Mr. DeGuerin. 76, Cal 328 at 349.
They're allowed to make that joke, but you can't. Okay, so
So my
that's what. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, first
Yeah.
of all, Your Honor, instead of sandbagging us, he could have filed a motion not as to Detective Struck, but as to us in limine, directing the court to allow us to brief the issue, because there is a confrontation issue here, Your Honor. They call her for the express purpose, apparently, of impeaching her. There was no real substantive information learned other than she shipped the money. There's nothing related to any of the murder of Susan Berman, nothing about the acquittal in Galveston, and now the court's going to tell me that on behalf of Mr. Durst, without an authority other than what's been cited in a brief that we were, what was it, December? A different witness? I mean, you have to examine.
I'm following the evidence code, Mr. Chesnoff. It's absolutely plain. It's absolutely clear.
It's not in the context, Your Honor, of a criminal case and confrontation.
No, I'm sorry. You can say that 773B violates the right to confrontation, but then you'd have to take into account these cases that Mr. Lewin's applied. This is the law in California. I suspect Wigmore didn't concentrate on California. I think this is pretty universal. So I'm obligated to follow the law. Clearly, this witness is associated with the defense and not antagonistic to the defense, not adverse to the defense. You can ask questions directly, but you can't lead her. So
Well,
That's-
can I ask
and-
this then, Your Honor?
Yes, yes.
If she's not at first of the defense, why did he call her? Because he's trying to get information from her that damages Mr. Durst. So that, by definition, is adverse. He didn't call her here because he was trying to help Mr. Durst. It's counterintuitive.
Well, that's why we have this code section, because it only occurs in the context where a party is calling someone who is adverse to them, and then the friendly party would like to take advantage of leading questions but cannot. That's why we have the statute in the first place. It contemplates this circumstance that we have today. That's all right. You can just flip your question around and make it direct. She's cooperative. She'll give you the answers you want. Now, you, of course, can lead on preliminary matters, on inconsistent statements. It's not that you're completely free from it. It just, this is the same as if it were a direct examination.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So that's